So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Chairman on the dais, and I am Professor Bandyopadhyay. I am the Chairman of Committee for Advancement in Engineering and Technology of Institution of Engineers India, besides my original professional engagement as a Professor of School of Material Science in a university. Well, today I will be talking on the funding, which normally you have heard about CSIR, DST and others. But as Institution of Engineers India, we also modestly fund to the projects, and very uniquely it is for the undergraduate students, postgraduate students as well as for the PhDs. And before I go into the general funding, I am told that there should be some highlights by the Congress organizer on the areas of my area of metallurgy materials, as far as whatever project I have done and what are the opportunities. So I will take not much of time, I think. But research funding as a whole, you know that this is a funding for the research area both in hard science and technology and social science. And it is it's on the competitive process you have to get the project. The basic connotation of funding is this. And such process is basically in our country is run by the government, because as you know, in our country, unlike developed country, funding from the government is more than funding from the industry for the research projects. And for the developing countries, it is total research funding. Most of the developed countries are between 1.5 to 3 in the GDP, but in Sweden, it's only the country exceeds 4%. So this is the general statistics for this, and most of the research funding comes from two major sources. One is corporate through Research Development Department. Government primarily carry out through the universities and government agencies. Small amount of scientific research is carried out by charitable foundations like this. And in the OECD, around 2/3 of the research development in the scientific and technical fields is carried out by the industry, 20% and 10% respectively by the universities and government. Now, government funded agencies are basically, this government funded research can either be by government itself through the grant of academy and other research outside. Sometimes the word basically comes the basic research. Some scientists and engineers and faculty members do the basic research, but this basic research funding, since the outcome is not that way very much visible in near future, it is to work together for a long time. Basic research funding is very difficult. But for example, in NASA, the quest for man to send to moon was inspired by the developed better sound recording. So then all the sound companies started funding this this project. So there are uniqueness also, but mainly the application-oriented research and technology development research are being funded by the government. And additional advantage of government-sponsored research is that the results are publicly shared, whereas the privately funded thing, the research ideas are controlled by the single group. That is the limitation of government funding and privately funding research. These are some of the highlights. Now, as you already heard about the Council of Scientific Research, how the mode of funding, etc. University Grants Commission for the universities. There are special assistance program, state universities and the central universities as well as deemed universities, they used to get the special funding from the UGC, but that funding is very modest, and also these are for the UGC approved universities. Regarding Department of Science and Technology, there are schemes like SERC, which is the intensified research in high priority areas. There are mission mode program, nano mission, science and technology, then funded for the feast infrastructure development. Fast track young scientists are the major highlights. In between, they are Ramanuja Fellowship, National Fellowship. They are supporting, as the last speaker told, funding for the international visits, funding for the international conferences to be done, etc. But these are all research, innovative, research-oriented projects to be done, out of which the Nano Mission is a big program besides this normal program of SERC, which is Science and Engineering Research.